Happy New Year, ASA members. As you saw at the beginning of this, we're kicking off the new year with a new look for news you can use. Now on to the news. A through F. Yes, that will never end. It is continuing, and it seems now we're likely to have a reevaluation of grades for all schools. Now, in anticipation of that, a number of us are pressing the state board to hold harmless schools during this reevaluation. In other words, your grade may be increased, but we're hoping to get them to agree that no school's grade will be decreased. What is the Technical Advisory Committee looking at? Remember, that's the committee appointed by the board to make recommendations, to study technicalities. Here's some things they're looking at right now. The ceiling effect on the student growth to target. Remember, there's two parts of growth. One of them is the growth to target, and this so-called ceiling effect, according to some, has prevented schools with a lot of excelling students from being rewarded with a high grade. We shall see what happens with that. Secondly, they're looking at changing the denominator for the K-8 acceleration measure. They would change it to points eligible. Now, this theoretically would really help small schools and rural schools who did not have the end count necessary to qualify for many of the acceleration points because they didn't have enough students in certain categories. Number three that they're looking at lowering the end count for English language learners, because it's clear now that you can have a different end count for ELLs than for everything else. So that's under consideration. The fourth thing they're looking at is a continued investigation of the correlation to free and reduced lunch. I'm not sure what can actually be done about that because tests are correlated to free and reduced price lunch regardless of what you do. And finally, they're looking at, and this is of great interest, creation of a report on additional risk factors that may be added to future iterations of the Arizona accountability system. Additional risk factors such as poverty, such as ELL. We don't know. It's very interesting that they are now willing to consider these additional risk factors. Now let's move on to see what the new year will bring us with the upcoming legislative session. Some bills have already been introduced by eager legislators. Representative Heather Carter has introduced a bill to fund the SAT and the ACT for schools that would choose those tests from the menu of assessments, and to fund that instead of AZ Merit. So schools that switch, if her bill passes, would get full funding for every student, that's what she's saying, every student to take the SAT or the ACT. It would be interesting to see if that progresses. If it does, certainly many districts would want to take advantage of that. And of course that has huge implications for our previous topic, A through F. How will that factor into growth measures? How will it factor into comparing schools among various districts if different tests are being taken? The recess bill is likely to make a reappearance. Won't be sponsored by Representative Rubalcaba, who has lost his seat due to financial mismanagement, but we are hearing the recess bill will make a return, that it will likely require 2 recesses a day, one of which may be the lunch recess, that it will apply to K through 5 students only, and will not apply to 5th graders if they are part of a school configured 5 through 8 as a middle school. We'll see how that bill progresses. Finally, a lunch shaming bill has been introduced by Senator Quesada, and this bill essentially would require that students, not necessarily on free lunch, but who don't have money to pay for lunch, would get a full lunch the same as everyone else. Now, if they're not on free lunch, that raises the question of who will pay for this full lunch. We know that our districts are not in the habit of shaming students or denigrating them because of their free lunch status or the fact that they don't have food money. However, the question of whether or not this bill becomes an unfunded mandate is certainly in the minds of many Arizona school administrators. Monday, we will see what Governor Ducey, Monday, January 8th, is the State of the State address by Governor Ducey. What will he propose? Will it include district additional assistance, which, as you know, is ASA's top priority? Will he have a proposal? Of course, close to our top priority, our second priority is teacher salaries. A number of groups are pushing for an increase in teacher salaries. And of course, we know that if district additional assistance is boosted, that will free up M&O money that has been devoted to maintenance, to repairs, to other capital projects. That money may be then freed up to increase teacher, and in fact many of us feel like not just teacher but all staff salaries. So that's some things to look for in the new year in the legislative session that's starting January 8th. Finally, the new year will bring further discussion, exploration, and activity around Prop 301, replacing it. Polling by Expect More Arizona, which was commissioned in December from 600 likely Arizona voters. For the third year in a row, the poll shows that voters believe education is the number one issue facing Arizona today, and they further support increased teacher salaries, and they further support increased funding for education. That's 3 years in a row that poll and others indicate great support among the electorate. Now, whether that support will come about for a renewed Prop 301, or a 1%, or a 1.5%, those are issues to be decided in the new year, issues which you and other ASA members will be asked to evaluate, to consider, and to support. Finally, what will we see for upcoming ASA events in the new year? Well, let's take the next month. We have our division meeting Monday, January 22nd at our usual venue in Mesa. The elementary division is sponsoring its Aspiring Principals Conference. That's an annual event, and that will be held Friday, February 2nd. Still time to register. And then be alert for nominations for honors for our administrators, both our secondary school principals and upcoming soon our elementary school principals. And then a little further down the road, be thinking of nominating your peers for Distinguished Administrator Awards. We hope that 2018 proves to be a successful year for your school, for your district, and for you as an administrator.